Спасибо большое. Ваш вопрос был связан, какие факторы, два фактора должны повлиять на исполнение Парижского соглашения. Мне кажется, что, безусловно, очень важный фактор – это политическая воля стран, которые подписали соответствующее Парижское соглашение. Там очень амбициозные задачи стоят. Как мы понимаем, нужно сократить выбросы СО2 на 47 гигатонн СО2. И это очень большие показатели. Конечно, в каждой стране должны быть соответствующие программы разработаны. Мы, например, в России уделяем особое внимание, привержены этому подписанному документу. 2017 год президентом Российской Федерации объявлен годом экологии, и мы в этом году проводим большое количество мероприятий, посвященных именно климатической повестке, экологической повестке. Если говорить о двух факторах, которые должны серьезно повлиять на достижение этих показателей. Первое, на мой взгляд, важно развитие технологий и научно-технический прогресс. И страны должны уделять этому вниманию, частные компании должны уделять внимание этому. Нужно кооперироваться по отдельным направлениям для того, чтобы найти новые технологии производства энергии, улавливания энергии, ее доставки, хранения, транспортировки. И это очень серьезно может изменить мир и, собственно, достичь те цели, которые мы перед собой ставим. И второе, на мой взгляд, очень важное – это конкуренция. Нужно привлекать частные инвестиции, создавать условия для привлечения инвестиций, снижать административные барьеры. И тогда в рамках конкуренции мы будем повышать эффективность, снижать энергоемкость, о чем говорил только что министр Казахстана, и повышать энергоэффективность. Это те цели, которые мы достигнем, на мой взгляд, два главных фактора.
Спасибо вам, министр Новак, за ваш очень ясный посыл. Сейчас я хотел бы пригласить его превосходительство Алида Аль-Фалиха, чтобы он очень быстро отреагировал. А вот по двум элементам, пожалуйста. Спасибо большое. Я, кажется, уже говорил об инклюзивности, и мне кажется, мы сегодня много говорили об энергии, как вкладчика в изменение климата, именно в части СО2. Мы, кажется, очень много говорим об источниках выбросов, которые являются основным источником изменения климата. Но ведь еще есть сельское хозяйство, есть животноводство, есть HFC, есть метан, о которых вкратце сегодня говорилось. Мне кажется, мы должны работать над всеми источниками выбросов и постараться в значительной степени снизить их влияние через действия, через инвестиции, через технологии и инновации. И, конечно, этого требует увеличение затрат на исследования, научные разработки и технологии. И тут частный сектор должен получить стимулы, необходимо защитить интеллектуальную собственность, и чтобы показать, что есть ценность, есть стоимость, которую они могут захватить, работая в этой сфере. И нужно работать над финансированием. Многие государства сокращают сейчас исследований в этой области, и частный сектор. И надо этот тренд разворачивать, и это будет источником многих решений, я считаю, к которым мы стремимся. И еще один принцип, который я сегодня упоминал, это гибкость. Мне кажется, нам необходимо понимать, что работает в Европе, не обязательно может быть рабочим на Ближнем Востоке и, может быть, не будет рабочим в Соединенных Штатах Америки, исходя из их собственной богатости в природных ресурсах. То есть, когда составляется правило по Парижу за следующие 1,5 года, когда мы их будем писать, нам нужно обеспечивать гибкость и принципы снизу вверх, чтобы это было, как это было изначально встроено в Парижском соглашении, не только оставалось, но также даже было увеличено для обеспечения того, чтобы мы смогли привлечь тех, кто подписался под Парижским соглашением, и также, чтобы способствовать интересам разных экономик, чтобы добиваться одной цели. Посмотреть на Саудовскую Аравию. Мы страна богатая ресурсами, богатая углеродным сырьем мы экспортируем, больше должны больше продуктов добавленной стоимостью. То есть естественным образом мы будем более углеродоинтенсивной страной, чем другие своей экономики. Это надо признавать, но не воспринимать это как бремя, а как вкладчика. То есть это дальнейшее движение для стремления нашей экономики быть менее. То есть необходимо, как мне кажется, обеспечить определенный более гибкий подход. Спасибо. Спасибо вам большое. Пожалуйста, ваша очередь, Рэйчел Кэт. Да, спасибо. Может, просто, наверное, повторюсь, поскольку об этом уже многие говорили, но мне кажется, есть потребность в выработке тщательной, сбалансированной политических рамок для этого. Необходимо обеспечивать предсказуемость и давать возможность долгосрочных инвестиций, давать выбор. Это нужно большинству стран, юрисдикций. Во-вторых, мы говорили о захвате СО2, хранении. Об этом мы очень много говорим. Мне кажется, пришло время, наверное, уже начинать искать действительно, реально экономику и финансовые моменты захвата СО2 и более конкретно использования в промышленности, то есть чтобы именно чтобы экономический кейс был, целесообразность можно было показать, и вот это требуется расширять, потому что разговоры продолжаются, но в какой-то момент нам надо все-таки уже дунуть свисток, прекратить разговоры и перевести работу на другой уровень. И потребуется, чтобы кто-то за это в какой-то момент начал платить. Второе – это региональное сотрудничество, не только в смысле интеграции энергетических систем, будь то такой факт, что надежная, достижимая, доступная энергетика должна не только обогащать корпорации, но и обеспечивать безопасность и давать доступность для людей. Но вот где углеродная емкость экономик, то есть в каких-то ситуациях это может быть потребность, но это потребует определенный уровень международного диалога. И вот это вот момент, где у нас в разговорах немножко теряется, нужно дать лучше. И есть части мозаики, как увязка с водными ресурсами, увязка с региональными диалогами. То есть необходима готовность к межрегиональному диалогу, работать над эффективностью, энергоэффективностью и двигаться уже от общих разговоров, а уже переходить к механизмам финансирования там, где это нужно, в краткой и среднесрочной период. Вот эти три вещи, наверное, бы я извлекла. Хорошо, спасибо. Спасибо вам всем за замечательные комментарии по двум очень быстрым комментариям, которые я вас попросил. А теперь смотрю на аудиторию. Я от аудитории получил 3 вопроса. Я выбрал первые 3 вопроса. Один вопрос, по сути, на него уже ответ был дан. Каков основной приоритет для вашей страны для начала реализации устойчивого энергетического развития? Мне кажется, все уже ответили на этот вопрос. Второй вопрос был такой. Благодарим за замечательный прогноз, за упоминание значительного увеличения спроса на энергоресурсы в будущем. В частности, частично это из-за потребления нефти. Но есть ли у мира достаточно нефтегазовых ресурсов для того, чтобы удовлетворить этот спрос, учитывая конец легкоизвлекаемой нефти? И по вашему мнению, какова роль сланцевого газа, сланцевой нефти, каков его вклад будет в следующие 20-30 лет? Ну, может быть, ваше превосходительство, вы начнете отвечать на этот простой вопрос. Ну, 10 лет назад, конечно же, было много обеспокоенности в мире по поводу пиковой добычи нефти. В тот момент было предложение пиковой добычи нефти. Это вызывало обеспокоенность. Но с того момента мы видим, как эта индустрия развивается, идут инновации, увеличиваются разведывательные работы, находятся новые ресурсы в глубоководных регионах. Наши коллеги в России в Арктике установили наличие больших ресурсов. И, конечно, серьезным фактором стали США, где сланцевая нефть стала серьезнейшим ресурсом. То есть мы смотрим на спрос и на предложение, на баланс спроса и предложения. И мы должны это смотреть со снижением углеродоемкости. У нас нет обеспокоенности о том, что с наличием ресурсов. Во всяком случае, на следующие 100 лет ресурсы есть. Мне кажется, нефть всегда была источником науки, нефтехимии. То есть там будет и после 100 лет, может быть, немножко предложение будет меньше, но в конечном итоге вся энергия на тот момент уже может быть и из других возобновляемых источников энергии, а нефть тогда будет ограничена материаловедением именно для производства материальных вещей. То есть следующие 100 лет, следующие несколько поколений мы можем быть уверены, что ресурсы и способность индустрии добывать эти ресурсы есть. Чего может не хватать, это инвестиции. Не физические, дело скорее в этом, а не фактической нефти, в наличии ее. То есть мы должны давать свой сигнал инвестиционному сообществу, должны давать сигнал финансовым рынкам, финансовой индустрии, и что скоро нам потребуется, ну, скажем, следующие 5 лет необходимо будет доведение мощностей до 20 миллионов баррелей для того, чтобы закрыть падение роста и также удовлетворить растущий спрос. То есть сотни и сотни миллионов долларов потребуется в виде потоков инвестиций. Но поэтому мы с энтузиазмом поддерживаем принципы трансформации энергопотребления, но не надо доводить до крайности, то есть нам еще не нужно отказываться полностью от углеводородов. Хорошо, спасибо большое за ваш ответ. И последний вопрос. Для баланса давайте сам попробую отвечу на этот вопрос. Этот вопрос. Как достичь целей Парижских соглашений, чтобы температуры рост удерживался менее 2 градусов по Цельсию? Как вы видите реализацию? Я, конечно же, понимаю, что стоит за этим вопросом. Я действительно хотел бы подчеркнуть один момент. На самом деле, все подчеркивали в этой панели слово партнерство, международное партнерство. Я слышал, как наши коллеги из ПРООН упоминали очень конкретные программы, и я понимаю, что Sweet for All, то есть энергия для всех, должна конкретизироваться в каждой стране. И нам нужно четко фокусироваться на чистой энергии, на более эффективных энергопотреблений и энергоэффективных программах.
И мы работаем вместе с СЭМ и проводим министерские заседания, работаем вместе с международными форумами, такими как нынешние, где мы можем обсуждать и где мы можем обмениваться информацией и можем учиться друг у друга с точки зрения самых разных стран и их национальных стратегий по важного соглашения, потому что это вопрос, важный для каждой страны, вопрос, важный для каждого континента и вопрос, важный для глобального сообщества. Никто не может уйти от решения этого вопроса, и никто не должен избегать работы вместе. Я думаю, время у нас подошло к концу, мы 2 часа поработали. Я признателен нашей панельной группе за прекрасный вклад в начале нашего форума и признателен аудитории за ваше внимание, за ваше терпение, когда вы слушали выступления наших панелистов. И еще раз, это позволит нам поаплодировать всем нам. Спасибо, спасибо большое.
Уважаемые участники конференции, просим вас оставить ИК-приемники на ваших местах. Благодарим вас. Dear conference participants, you are kindly requested to leave the IR receivers on your seats. Thank you. Дамы и господа, объявляется обеденный перерыв до 14 часов 30 минут. Ladies and gentlemen, a lunch break is announced until 2:30 p.m. Ханымдар мен мырзалар, сағат 14:30-ға дейін түскі үзіліс жариялаймыз.
Раз, два, три.
Уважаемые дамы и господа, мы продолжаем церемонию подписания соглашения в рамках Министерской конференции обеспечения устойчивого развития энергетики. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we continue the signing ceremony under the framework of Ministerial Conference meeting the challenge of sustainable energy. Для торжественного подписания соглашения о сотрудничестве и поддержке проекта по расширению солнечной электростанции «Бурная Солар» с 50 до 100 мегаватт в Жамбылской энергетики Республики Казахстан министр энергетики Канат Бузумбаев. On behalf of the Minister of Energy Kanat Buzumbayev, on behalf of Dear ladies and gentlemen, the documents are signing ceremony is going on. Уважаемые дамы и господа, соглашение... The documents are signed. Слово предоставляется министру энергетики Республики. Извините. Слово предоставляется министру энергетики Канату Бузумбаеву.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking tirelessly for the last few days, and today finally we've signed a very decisive agreement. That's a very landmark agreement. It's the largest solar power. Today it's 50 megawatts, and it is supposed to be double-folded and increased twice in 2018, and it is said to be the largest solar power station in post-Soviet territory, hoping to be the largest. It's the brightest example of the private sector, represented by United Green Energy Company, EBRD, and the government of Kazakhstan. And I would like to congratulate our partners on signing this agreement.
Floor to the Managing Director for Energy and Natural Resources, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Ms. Nandita Parshad.
Thank you. I'm really very proud to be signing this project support agreement, just as the very vital discussions about a future of a clean, secure, and affordable energy in the region is kicking off right here at the high-level Ministerial Conference on Energy, part of the spectacular Expo 2017. And thank you for all the distinguished guests from the Ministerial Conference that are here in the audience. This is really quite unexpected, but really makes the team here and everyone that's worked so hard on this project really very proud. It's a very significant project for us. We were proud to support Burnoy 1, the first large-scale solar plant in Kazakhstan. We are even more proud now that it is up and running. It works, it wins awards, and now we are doubling it. It shows that renewable energy is not just a dream, but a reality now for Kazakhstan. I'm also proud to say the Brunei project will be co-financed with the Clean Technology Fund, a multilateral fund which supports development of renewables and the enabling environment. We hope a real viable market in renewable energy will soon emerge in Kazakhstan and the region. I always say that the second project is even more important than the first. It shows that we are really together creating a new industry, and it demonstrates that Kazakhstan is truly a part of the global renewable energy revolution that is happening right now. The country has great resource potential in solar, wind, and hydropower. And we heard from the minister this morning the ambitious plans that they have for many more projects in the coming months and years to help Kazakhstan meet its Paris Agreement targets and its own ambitious goal of 50% from renewables by 2050. To demonstrate our commitment as the EBRD to the scaling up of renewables in Kazakhstan, our board of directors recently allocated a further $200 million just for renewable energy projects in Kazakhstan. And my team is here ready to hit the ground, looking for good projects, and we hope we will find many at this expo. To conclude, I would really like to thank Minister of Energy, Minister Bozumbayev, for his leadership and his great cooperation, without which this project, and in particular this project support agreement, which is so important for the bankability of this project, would never have happened. I also want to thank my own team, led by Aida Sitikova and Ksenia Rogan, and most importantly, our partners, Samruk Kasina United Green, who have always believed in the bright future of solar energy in Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're giving the floor to representative of UG Energy Limited, Mr. Albrecht Rieschenschläger.
Dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, In 2015, we established with Borneo 1 the first industrial-scale solar park in Kazakhstan. The agreement signed today allows us to increase the size of the solar park from 50 to 100 megawatts. This sends a strong message that Kazakhstan is not only talking about future energy, but is ready to act. I would like to take the opportunity to thank His Excellency, Mr. Bozumbayev, for his very strong support and guidance, which has been very valuable to us. I would also like to thank the team at the EBRD working our projects. Their professionalism and their dedication are unparalleled. And last but not least, let me highlight that all of this would not have been possible without the successful private-public partnership that we have formed with Samruk Kasina Invest. I think that our partnership could actually work as a role model for the attraction of foreign investment into Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The ceremony is ended. Thank you very much for our guests. Для торжественного подписания кредитного соглашения по проекту расширения солнечной электростанции «Бурная Солар» с 50 до 100 мегаватт в Жамбылской области между ТО «Бурная Солар-2» и Европейским банком реконструкции и развития приглашаются: от ТО «Бурная Солар-2» генеральный директор Нурлан Капенов, от Европейского банка реконструкции и развития директор по энергетике и природным ресурсам по России, Кавказу и Центральной Азии Аида Сидикова. For the solemn signing of the credit agreement for the project of Burna Solar 2 power plant capacity expansion from 50 megawatt to 100 megawatt in the Jambul region between the Burna Solar 2 LLP and European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, please welcome, on behalf of Burna Solar 2 LLP General Director Nurlan Kapenov, on behalf of European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Director for Energy and Natural Resources, Russia, Caucasus and Central Asia, Aida Sidikova. The ceremony is going on. Дамы и господа, кредитное соглашение о поддержке проекта «Бурная Солар-2» 50 мегаватт подписано. Предоставить слово управляющему директору по оптимизации активов АО «Самрук Казына» Бисенгалиеву Берику Турсумбековичу. Dear ladies and gentlemen, let me give the floor for Managing Director on Asset Optimization, GSCS Samruk Kazana, Berik Bisengaliyev.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, today it's a very important day thanks to the policies of the Republic of Kazakhstan in the sustainable energy and plus the support of such financial institutions as the EBRD, the Fund of Clean Technologies. We have an opportunity to fund the expansion of the capacities from 50 to 100 megawatt of solar plant in Jambal region. The first stage of this Burno showed the sustainability. It today already gave clean energy of about 800 million kilowatt of hours, and moreover it received a reward from the BRD in the area of sustainable development. The execution of the second stage of the project is an example of a private-public partnership. and the control package of assets is owned by the company United Green, which invested as of today into the economy of Kazakhstan over $30 million. The signing of the credit agreement will allow to attract from EBRD and the Fund of Clean Technology almost 18 billion tenge in the framework of the project financing, and with no guarantees from the supporters and tangible hard collaterals. This will set a course of transition of Kazakhstan to green economy, and this is the future of the development of energy industry, and will allow also to attract foreign investors into the industry of renewable sources of energy and further develop clean new technology at the territory of Republic of Kazakhstan. I congratulate everyone. Thank you for your attention. Dear colleagues, distinguished guests, our press conference will begin in just a minute.
Құрметті конференция қонақтары, журналист мырзалар, өз орындарыңызға жайғасуларыңызды сұраймыз. Біз энергетиканың тұрақты дамуын қамтамасыз ету деген тақырыппен өтетін министрлер конференциясы мен 8-ші халықаралық форумға арналған баспасөз конференциямыз бастаймыз. Dear conference participants, members of the press, please take your seats. We are starting the press conference dedicated to Ministerial Conference and 8th International Forum on Energy, meeting the challenge of sustainable energy. Сіздерге қатысушыларды таныстыруға рұқсат етіңіздер. Қанат Бозымбаев, Қазақстан Республикасының энергетика министрі. Марыш Шевчович, энергетикалық одақ жөніндегі вице-президент Еуропалық комиссия. Ольга Алгаерова, Біріккен Ұлттар Ұйымы бас хатшысының орынбасары, атқарушы хатшы. Шамшат Ахтар, Біріккен Ұлттар Ұйымы Азия және Тынық мұхиты елдеріне арналған экономикалық және әлеуметтік комиссиясының атқарушы хатшысы. Александр Новак, Ресей Федерациясының энергетика министрі Халид Аль-Фалих, Сауд Арабиясының энергетика министрі. Жамбулат Сарсенов, Казэнерджи қауымдастығы төрағасының орынбасары. Позвольте, дорогие журналисты, представить вам участников. Канат Бозумбаев, министр энергетики Республики Казахстан. Марош Шевчович, вице-президент по вопросам энергетического союза Европейской комиссии. Ольга Алгаерова, заместитель генерального секретаря ООН, исполнительный секретарь Европейской экономической комиссии ООН. Шамшат Ахтар, исполнительный секретарь экономической и социальной комиссии ООН для Азии и Тихого океана. Александр Новак, министр энергетики Российской Федерации. Халид Аль-Фалих, министр энергетики Саудовской Аравии. Жамбулат Сарсенов, заместитель председателя Ассоциации Казэнерджи. Let me introduce the participation. Канат Бозумбаев, Minister of Energy of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Maroš Šefčovič, Vice President for Energy Union European Commission. Olga Algaerova, Under Secretary General of the United Nations. Excuse me. Shamshat Akhtar, Executive Secretary, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. Alexander Novak, Minister of Energy of the Russian Federation. Khalid Al-Faleh, Minister of Energy, Industry and Mineral Resources, Saudi Arabia. Жамбулат Сарсенов, Deputy Chairman of the Kazenergy Association. Канат Алдербергенович, позвольте первый вопрос задать вам. На ваш взгляд, какова основная цель?
In your opinion, what's the main goal of the Ministerial Conference, and what are some concrete outcomes and resolutions can be expected? Many thanks for this opportunity and this question. The main theme line of the 8th Ministerial Ministerial Conference and 8th International Forum on Energy for Sustainable Development is energy security, trade and infrastructure, the nexus of energy, climate and food industry, as well as development of renewable energy in this context. The discussion as part of this forum and the conference should enable us to understand how the UN system can help the countries and business community to fulfill the agenda of sustainable development. The main goals of this conference and the forum is building the importance of achieving sustainable energy. Second, developing solutions to traditional and alternative energy. Third is exploration of clean technologies and usage hydrocarbons in future energy systems. Fourthly, fulfillment of whole-rounded experience exchange in development of low-carbon development. Fifthly, facilitation of regional dialogue, including the Caucasus. And sixthly, developing the prospects of building an international center and its activity, international center of green technologies and investment projects here in Astana, using the facilities of the Expo 2017 exhibition after it's over. And the ministers, dignitaries, experts are sharing their views regarding the transformation process, the meaning and the importance of regional cooperation. The center of attention is usage of fossil fuel, enhancing energy efficiency and promotion of renewable energy. The conference and forum should suggest some options to achieve sustainable development goals associated with energy, with due respect of the national specifics and peculiarities. By the end of the day, we expect to adopt a ministerial declaration as a final outcome document that will reflect concrete approaches and actions by the government that should enable us to shift towards sustainable energy. We expect that the provisions of this declaration should manifest the fundamental values and goals of this exhibition. And today we should wrap up this discussion and then come up with a statement regarding establishment of an international green technology center at this Expo platform. Thank you very much for your answer, distinguished journalists. If you have any questions, the time is limited, and given the time pressure, let's be laconic. It is known that the latest agreement on reduction of oil production did not cover United States. It's known that they have great reserve of oil. Russia, though it has signed this agreement, it doesn't stick strictly because it has great reserves of gas. I must say that in the next years, only two countries, Russia and the United States, will determine the energy product prices. Who will take this question? Is anybody willing to?
English or in another language, because
мой Russian better.
Russian better, но надо clearly тогда. И коротко, по сути.
Мой вопрос.
My question I will restate. Can we say that in the nearest few years, only two countries, Russia and the United States, will set the price for energy products because they have great oil and gas reserves? much for this question. I think it is far too simplified to address price formation. The market is fairly large and global. I'm talking about oil. We've discussed hydrocarbon reserves worldwide, and price setting is set to be determined by the current market balance in terms of demand and supply, growth of demand, investment opportunities, profitability, and return on investments. So I cannot dare to agree that it's possible in theory even. The fact that together with OPEC and non-OPEC countries we are trying to balance the market is geared towards its recovery and bringing investments back to the industry. We are aware that the reduction is $1 trillion that we've experienced, and we may experience a deficit in product supply, and in absence of no new deposit exploration, and they may be underserving of demand in developing emerging markets. But the demand is set to growth. If we've discussed big oil theory in the past, today the main question is peak of demand, and as you know, in the past it was peak oil, now it's peak of demand, and many people converge in opinion that in the next decades there will be no peak demand on oil and hydrocarbons. The next question is from Interfax. Hello. Do we have translation into English? Yes. And I have a question to Mr. Shevchevich. Why is Euro Commission required mandate to negotiate North Stream? And the question that ensues from here to Mr. Novak, are we right that the Ministry of Energy from Russia will be leading the negotiations, and what are the reservations regarding the Euro Commission stance?
Thank you very much for your question. I would like to thank Minister Novak for our constructive meeting this morning, because it gave me the opportunity to inform him about the mandate for the negotiations on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. It's rather fresh news because this mandate was approved by the Commission only on Friday afternoon. Now we have to present this mandate to the member states, who have the right to not only debate it but also to propose some changes into the text, and in the end we need a qualified majority support for this mandate. So it's still the process which would need to be completed within the European Union, and therefore I fully understand the position of the Minister Novak, which I'm sure he will elaborate on, that they have to study the carefully mandate, and we decided that we would discuss this issue further, hopefully already in September.
Thank you very much.
Oh, my second question was to Mr. Novak regarding the position. Does this mean that now the Ministry of Energy will be leading these negotiations?
Господина Шевчевича, сегодня у нас состоялись переговоры утром. Мы обсудили весь спектр наших вопросов, касающихся...
I would also like to thank Mr. Shevchevich for this constructive meeting this morning regarding the energy dialogue, and we've discussed the issues related to Nord Stream 2, and Mr. Shevchevich indeed informed me that just as recently as yesterday the Euro Commission received the mandate. We haven't seen the document. It requires our careful look, and our position as yet implies that construction of this North Stream is carried out by commercial companies, European and Russian company, Gazprom, and today all relations are built on commercial basis. It's a commercial project. We will study the document that we've received yesterday, and we've agreed that we will carry on our counseling and negotiations with Mr. Sevchich. By late August, early September, we'll have another meeting to compare the notes and find agreement.
Gizdinov, I work for Bloomberg News, and I have a question to Khalid Al-Falih. As we know, renewable energy and directly attached to oil price, and you did a pretty good job by supporting oil price. So the question is, Saudi Arabia decided to cut oil supplies to United States, while Iraq decided to increase oil supplies and increase export to United States. Are you concerned about losing market share, and what are you going to do about it? Thank you.
As you know, the United States, of course, is the world's largest oil market, and Saudi Arabia is the world's largest exporter. We're one of the largest three producers. So the United States market will always be key to the kingdom. We've just announced, Saudi Aramco just announced the full acquisition of the largest refinery in the U.S., which is the Port Arthur refinery, over 600,000 barrels of capacity. And the intent is to use that as a platform for future growth. So in terms of long term, Saudi Arabia will continue not only to export, but will probably grow our exports to the United States. Today, the United States, as we see from inventories, is well supplied. There is plenty of domestic production. There is Gulf of Mexico production of sour, heavy crudes, which deems some of our exports to be excess. So some of that crude is shifting elsewhere. And of course, we're cutting overall production and exports to be in full conformance to the agreement. But these short-term variations will not impact the long-term commitments and the trend to grow the market share of Saudi Aramco and Saudi Arabia in the U.S., and it's going to be supported, as I mentioned, by a massive investment, $15 to $20 billion further investment in the United States. So, but at the end of the day, oil is fungible, and what doesn't go to the United States will go somewhere else. I think what we're focused on is global inventories. The OECD inventories have dropped by more than 80 million barrels since the peak, or since January of this year. That trend of inventory drawdown will accelerate in the next 3 to 4 months as the demand peaks and as the cuts that have been made by OPEC and non-OPEC, with my two colleagues from Kazakhstan and Russia also indicating their full commitment to the cuts that they have announced. I think that 80 million is only the beginning. We will see massive drawdown of inventory towards our objective of the 5-year average. And after that, supply and demand will be, of course, in balance, and we will resume our attention to all markets.
Thank you. Пожалуйста, следующий вопрос.
Please, next question. Good morning, Zarina Berkul, Atomic Business Channel. I have two questions. The first is to Mr. Jambulat Sarsenov. You, as the representative of the Association of KazEnergy, I have a question. The representatives of how many delegations are here today, and did you expect such high demand into this conference, or such high attention? And question to Mr. Khalid Al-Falih, it's brief forecast of oil prices for the short-term perspective. Atamikin, thank you very much. Our new business channel, we had an anniversary of our work just recently, and I welcome you at our ministerial conference. First of all, I would like to point out that the work of exhibition has begun yesterday, and the most important work was done greatly, and now we have to do the rest of the expo work during the summer. And on behalf of the Kaz Energy, I believe that this is one of the biggest achievements that we were able to ensure within the 4 years to prepare this conference. And there are delegations from over 80 countries, and including 20 ministries and heads of international organizations. For the beginning of Expo, this is a very high level, and today, as you've noticed, that there will be agreements signed of ministries in a form of a declaration, and that also there will be reports of the International Energy Agency announced, and also the reports of all regional commissionaries on renewable energy led by Irina, and the majority of international organizations which work on sustainable energy, ensuring and developing, and they have an opportunity to participate at this conference. And I would also like to point out that this time we have a large number of press. Over 350 of our colleagues were registered, and 50 international agencies are participating in broadcasting our conference today. Thank you.
Mr. Al-Faleh?
You want me to tell you what the oil price is going to be? I think that would be very hazardous for me to try to guess where it's going to be. Of course, price formation in the oil markets is very complex. There are many factors, fundamental as well as financial, with many players, and of course many variables, including geopolitical, macroeconomic, and speculative forces. But the ones that we can influence as energy ministers, not just me, but my colleagues here on this panel, are the fundamentals. We focus on trying to keep the markets balanced over the long term, not just short term. Just like one of the speakers today talked about progressive glasses, we also try to use the short-term balance to lead to long-term stability. Long-term balance will assure investors, will bring investment back into the oil industry, will try to reverse the 1 trillion reduction in investments that we talked about, and as a result will ensure that the 20 million barrels over the next 5 years and similar numbers over the midterm are restored through proper investments. Those investments will have to be not only in unconventional. I think the focus, unfortunately, is only on the U.S. shale, which is an important factor for the short to midterm, but for the long term, we need conventional investments into frontier regions that are very expensive. And for those investments to happen, and even for the U.S. shale, I can tell you with almost certainty that the current prices are not sufficient. At the same time, we learned through hard experience that prices in the 3 digits were too high, and it drew a lot of investments into both conventional and unconventional oil that resulted in the glut we saw earlier this decade. So the markets will determine what that equilibrium price that brings the equilibrium supply-demand that we seek, and it's going to be somewhere between the current levels, which my market intelligence tell me are insufficient to support investors from the industry, and they're going to be, of course, not reaching the 3-digit level that we saw, and if they reach it, it's going to be for a short period of time. Like I said, that will result in oversupply. So we will simply focus on supply and demand and balancing the market by the concerted action that we know is working and restoring stability to the market, and the price will be what the market determines it to be.
Thank you very much for your opinion. Пожалуйста.
Good morning, Caspian News. Nazrim Gadina, Baku, Azerbaijan. I have a question to Mr. Bozembaev about the projects in the area of renewable energy. What projects is Kazakhstan working on at the moment, and is it possible to partner with the Caspian region countries in the short-term perspective? Yes, I have already mentioned that in the country we have a concept of transition to green economy, and the main fundamentals here are implementation of the plan of development of alternative sources of energy. We have clear targets, 23% of the renewable energy. As you know, that the prevalence here is the conventional sources is coal, 80%, and the rest is hydro and gas. That's why a few years ago we practically had no sources on wind, but we have a significant growth recent years, and in 2020 we will go up to 3%, and to 2030 10%, and 2050 we are striving towards 50% of renewable energy. And today, within 3 years of work of this concept, over 50 stations are working on solar and windmills in Kazakhstan, and 54 stations are working, and they are on design and project as well on the renewable energy in the country. There are 54 plants, over 1,700 megawatt. There are both local and international participants. And as you are witnessing, the signing of agreements with the companies from the Great Britain, and also transnational companies show their interest. And yesterday, my colleague, Mr. Khalid Al-Khaliq, signed with the largest company in Saudi Arabia, Aqua Power, and also a memorandum, and we believe that we will be actively cooperating with them, both Shell and I, and these companies have reached to me, and we are also carrying dynamic negotiations. Of course, on the basis of Expo, we will create an international center on developing green economy, and its view will be not only on to Kazakhstan, but on the region in general. And we believe that this we will be able to also actively engage Caspian countries to develop a single policy when it comes to national peculiarities. Other questions, please?
I am Birjan Ünver. I represent the Late Millennium Public Benefit Media based in New York. My question is to His Excellency Al-Falih. Since the issue came up over and over, and the fact is that we are highly dependable still fossil energy, and this conference is based on renewable energy. And you mentioned in your deliberation that you are invested billions towards the cleaner energy based on oil. So what are the first findings as it is to present, or what are the first potential that really fossil oil could be clean energy as well? Also, you mentioned that it was one of your key points, affordability. Based on the Sustainable Energy Forum 2017 April in New York, it is stated that 800 million will be out of the grid, out of energy by 2030. When this fact in front of all of us, how you will contribute to the affordability on the global level? Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, my focus was also inclusiveness. So renewables is a big part of the formula, and I mentioned we're going from 0 to 10% of our electricity supply coming from renewables in about 6 or 7 years. So we've waited just for the right time to start installing renewables at scale in the kingdom, and we already have major projects on tender, and there will be waves of wind, solar, waste to energy, and all forms of renewables, as well as nuclear for electricity generation in the next few years. So you will see the energy mix in Saudi Arabia shifting dramatically to be more diverse, and not only oil and gas. And within the fossil, we will be changing dramatically, as I mentioned, from over-reliance on oil and oil products and electricity generation to more gas, and I mentioned doubling. All of this will reduce our carbon intensity of the energy sector of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We're also, I mentioned, making oil greener, so carbon not only capture, we're already injecting carbon into our reservoirs, in demonstration projects that once proven commercially will be expanded to allow us to extract more hydrocarbons while capturing the carbon in the reservoir. Also, it was mentioned by others, but we have invested at scale within the kingdom into carbon utilization, conversion into fertilizers, conversion into methanol, as well as we have acquired technologies and that we will be building commercial plants in the next few years to convert carbon into polyols as well as polymers within the kingdom. So multiple uses of carbon that will convert it into products that otherwise would be made from hydrocarbons. So that will result in more sustainable use of carbon coming out of fuel utilization. I also mentioned extensive research and development, not only within our own laboratories around the world, but also with auto manufacturers in the US and Europe. The intent is to bring new fuel and engine technologies together that haven't been used in the auto industry to result into lower cost of fuel manufacturing, as well as significantly higher efficiency. We're also audacious enough to look at capturing carbon on vehicles, and hopefully the economics will be there to turn that carbon in when you refuel your car and use it for making the useful products I just used. So these are not just projects in the lab, but projects that we're hoping to commercialize, and the combination of renewables, electric vehicles gaining, and hopefully the electricity coming into EVs will be from sustainable resources like wind and solar and nuclear, so we don't switch to electric vehicles that are being electrified by coal, for example. That would be unfortunate and highly counterproductive. So we believe a holistic solution, including all of these, will be the solution, and the kingdom is a serious player, not only within the borders of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but we're working on research and development, acquisition of technologies and companies around the world, and we will be working with the international community on policy as we draft the rule book for the Paris Agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question, please.
Здравствуйте.
Hi, Time newspaper. Askar is my name. My question is to Mr. Al-Falih. Could you tell, please, at what phase is the implementation of Saudi Vision program, and whether you have evaluated Aramco company, and when and where listing is planned, New York or London? And my second question is whether it's possible to develop Green Technology Center and how UN is ready to participate in the project. My question is to UN representatives, whether they will be active or passive in supporting it.
In terms of implementation of Vision 2030, we have moved from strategy development to implementation. One of the early programs that have kicked in is what I talked about today, our renewable program, 10 gigawatts. And I mentioned that we have projects that have already gone out for tender. We had a conference earlier this year in Saudi Arabia, and in fact, the Secretary General of IRENA, the Renewable Energy organization, was in Riyadh speaking at the conference, looked at how we are doing it in terms of the pre-technical work, the engineering work, and how we are transparently sharing across the world our program. And he mentioned, and I wish he was here to say it himself, that our program is the most developed in terms of the quality of the pre-development, the engineering work, as well as the terms and the transparency of the whole process. We'll be happy to share our framework with other nations that want to also have the lowest cost. I also mentioned that Saudi companies are setting global benchmarks in terms of being able to develop world-scale and world-class renewable projects, especially solar, across the globe at the lowest cost. We've seen it in Dubai, we've seen it in Abu Dhabi, we've seen it in Morocco, we've seen it in South Africa. So the Kingdom is a major participant in energy in a broad way, fossil and non-fossil. And of course, there are other economic engines that Vision 2030 beyond energy that we're building: logistics, manufacturing, high value added manufacturing, services, and so on and so forth. And our investment fund has already started investing in new technologies. We announced a $45 billion investment in Vision Fund, which is looking at artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, digitization of energy and the global economy. So we want to be part of creating the fourth industrial revolution and the next economy of the world. We're innovating in the Kingdom, but we're part of the global economy. In terms of Aramco, we're under restrictions by the terms of many of the exchanges that Aramco is considering to list in from talking about the process. All I could say is that it is indeed part of Vision 2030. The Kingdom is committed to seeing the entirety of Vision 2030 through, and we have repeatedly said that part of that would be listing Saudi Aramco.
Thank you for your question. I more or less wonder on this discussion. We have a forum on sustainable energy, and we speak about price of gas of oil, about structural project Nord Stream, and nobody is asking on the future of energy. But okay, your question on the center, Green Energy and Technological Center. I hope the document will be adopted during today, practically, that we can agree on creation of this center. Conditions were very carefully and long-term negotiated. I wish a lot of success to this center. What can we do? We are two regional UN economic commissions who work in cooperation and mutual communication and shared responsibilities in this region. What can I tell for ECE? We can provide expertise to your center. We can attract attention of governments, of energy industries, because we are excellent platforms for policy dialogues. We can help you organize workshops. So there is a lot we can do together. EC is known by bringing standardization, classifications that the center can be used. It's not so easy to understand, but this is really something what improves the daily life of people. Znači, želim mnoga uspehom vašemu tehnologičkom.
I wish the best of success to you, Technological Center in Almaty.
Unfortunately, the time is limited. Извините, пожалуйста, господа журналисты, мы благодарим наших спикеров.
We would like to thank all the speakers and yourselves. Time is limited. We call it the end of the conference, of the press conference. Thank you.
Раз, два, три. Джуба. Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Ага. Раз, два, три. Давай, Ерла. Раз, это... А? Давай, тексере берші. Соны уровенін қойып жатырмын ғой қазір, соны сөйлеп жатырмын ғой.
Вот английский.
Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Алло. Алло. Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Английский перевод. Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Английский перевод. Микрофон английского переводчика. Раз, два, три. 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 Микрофон английского переводчика. Раз, два, три. Микрофон английского переводчика. Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Микрофон английского переводчика.